So those are the dimensions that we look at in terms of the ASAM criteria, and kind of like, how do you pick, right? How do you know which one is the one to go? My personal belief is that what is designed out after the residential is equally or more important than the first 28 days. Rehab would disagree with this. A lot of residentials would be like, no, we're the place. Like, we do everything here. We're gonna fix your son, your loved one. Yes and no. In reality, where the system breaks down is when they leave treatment. The bridge back home, and in many cases there is no level of care. They go just back home, and they do 90% of what they did before, which is nothing towards their recovery, except for I'm just not going to drink. And then what will happen is sooner or later they'll dysregulate. Sooner or later the anxiety will go up. Sooner or later the triggers. They're no longer in this. And then what will happen is life will throw them a blow and they'll drink. And then everybody will be up in arms, drink or drugs. And we're like, oh, let's put them back in rehab, back in residential. We'll weaponize because we don't really understand how it works. So I will say, if you're kind of stuck in this trap, oh, put him in rehab. Oh, you relapse. Oh, put him in rehab. Oh, put him, and back and forth. Home, rehab, home, rehab. You're probably not missing the right residential rehab. What you're missing is the 3 months after. And usually what will happen is, if we were to judge, like kind of like look at that, you'll discover that it rapidly diminishes to zero. Because the client themselves takes over the steering wheel right away. And so hopefully I've been able to break down a little bit of levels of care, different types of rehab, where people fit. In a perfect world, we're collaborating with you at every step of the way. I will say that from my personal experience, and one thing that we suggest for families, and one thing that eventually the addict will have to do, is that what I had to do is that I had to be willing to fire myself as the sole decision maker and designer of my treatment planning. And it's interesting that I, as a patient with an hour of sobriety, would argue with professionals, addiction experts, doctors, therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, how I know more than you, and how your solutions won't work for me, and let me instead counter with mine.